English class. We are continuing our story about Christopher Columbus. Now we know that Christopher Columbus is a man who was a great explorer. And Christopher Columbus, he traveled across the ocean and discovered the Americas. But what was he trying to discover? That's right, he was trying to find a way across the water to get to China and India. Back then, they did not know that the Americas even existed. So he was thinking, well, the world must be round. Everyone else thinks it's flat. There's a few people like me who think it's round, but I'm sure that the world must be round. And if it's round, that means that I can travel this way and get to India and China instead of going the other way over the land. And it will probably be faster by boat. And so that's what Columbus decided to do. There were not very many people who wanted to listen to him. They thought he was crazy because, like I said, they thought the world was flat and that if he was sailing along, he would get to the edge and bloop, fall off the earth. They also believed that there were huge sea monsters in the ocean. Now we know that there's big animals in the ocean, huge whales and things like that, but there's not the same kind of monsters that they thought were in the ocean. And so they were also afraid that those might eat him up, that these particular animals would attack the ship and things like that. So there was a lot of fear around his exploration. But God had given Columbus that curiosity that he wanted to go and he wanted to find out. So in 1492, he went on his first trip. And in 1492, he sailed across the ocean and he landed in the Americas right around where the Bahamas are. So that was his first voyage. Okay, now you should be looking at this page that says the Voyages of Columbus. I want you to pause your video and put your name right here at the top. Okay, now this is your last page that you have in here because the next 2 days we are going to be doing the flip book together. Okay, so for the next 2 days, this will be your final project for Christopher Columbus, is your flip book. Okay, so in 1492, he sailed across the ocean. In English, we have a saying, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That helps us to remember what year he first sailed across the ocean. When he landed in the Bahamas, he called the people that he met Indians. Why did he call them Indians? That's right, he thought he had reached India. So he thought that these were natives of India, but no, they were natives of America. They still didn't know quite yet that he had reached America. Soon he would figure out that he had reached a new world, but he didn't really know quite yet that this was not indeed China and India like he thought. So Christopher Columbus, he set up, while he went on these voyages, he set up little colonies in places that he would stop, meaning he left some men behind, he left some men to be in charge, and on one of his 4 voyages, because he sailed across the ocean on 4 voyages, on one of them, he actually stayed there for a little while and he became the governor of one of his colonies. But you know what? While he was there being the governor, he didn't treat the people very nicely. Because remember, he was looking for gold and spices and things like that, and they didn't really have what he was looking for because they weren't actually China and India. And so he was not happy about that. And since he didn't have that kind of power, he made the people become his slaves. It's not right to treat someone like a slave, to make them do everything that you want them to do, to have power over them. But that's what Columbus did. He treated them like they were less than human, and he was not very kind to them. So because of this, he actually got in trouble with Spain. Remember, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain, they were the ones who helped pay for him. They were his sponsors. They helped pay for him to go on his voyages to the New World. And so when they found out that he was not behaving very nicely, that he wasn't being kind to the people, they made him come back. In fact, they even arrested him for a little while because he wasn't being a good man to those people. Well, in 1502, they let him go on his fourth and final trip. So this was the last time he would go on a trip. And when he sailed over this time, this was when he reached Honduras. So on July, let me check the date. It was July 30th, yes. July 30th, 1502, he reached the Bay Islands. We believe the first island he stopped at was Guanaja. And it is also believed that he helped name Guanaja. So he reached Guanaja on July 30th, 1502. Then a little while later, he sailed across to the mainland. And it was about August 14th of 1502 that he reached the mainland. It was one of the first, if not the first, European explorers to set foot on the mainland of Honduras. He continued to sail along the coast of Honduras, and at one point, a huge storm came up. And he was able to go right around a little tip of land and kind of get in there to be away from the storm. And according to history, when he made it there around that little bit of land, he said, "Gracias a Dios que hemos salido de estas Honduras." So he was saying, thanks to God for saving them from those treacherous depths. And so from there, we get the name for Gracias a Dios and for Honduras, for your country. That's at least what historians believe is what happened. So he named a lot of places when he was on his voyages, places that you may not have even thought of. Christopher Columbus helped come up with the name because he was one of the first explorers to get there. So yes, he messed up in his life, but God still used him to open up exploration to the New World, which is a pretty cool thing. So let's look at your worksheet where it says the voyages of Christopher Columbus. There is one voyage in orange from 1492 to 1493. Then you have one in green from 1493 to 1496. Then you have the third one in blue from 1498 to 1500. And then you have one in yellow from 1502 to 1504. Those were the different voyages that he took. So look at the directions. It says use the map above to answer the questions that follow. So I'm going to talk you through the questions, but I'm not going to answer them with you today. In our video tomorrow, you are going to find out the answers. So I want you to try your best to answer on your own today, and then you'll check it with me tomorrow, okay? So here we go. Number 1, how many voyages did Columbus take in all? ¿Cuántos viajes realizó Cristóbal Colón? Number 2, número 2, what year was the first voyage? ¿En qué año fue el primer viaje? So look at your map. What's the earliest year? In blank, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Number 3, he sailed across the blank ocean. So navegó a través del océano ¿qué? If you look here on your map, it'll tell you the ocean somewhere in this blue part. And then number 4 says use a ruler to measure and estimate about how many miles Columbus traveled on his first voyage. So this is the voyage in orange. That's his first one right there, okay? So what you're going to do with your ruler, you're going to use a little bit of estimating, all right? So usa una regla y estima cuántas millas recorrió Colón en su primer viaje. So you're going to take your ruler, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint because of the way that the map is printed out and the size. Really, you want to estimate with inches, okay? So measure how many inches across the orange line. Now it's not a straight line, but you can only measure in a straight line. So just measure from where the arrow is to where the orange line stops. And about how many inches. It's not going to be exactly at 3 or 4 or 5 inches, but it's going to be close. So estimate about how many inches. Each inch is about 1,000 miles. So however many inches you measure, multiply that by 1,000, and that will tell you how many miles. Okay, so measure your inches, multiply by 1,000. Measure your inches, multiply by 1,000. Okay, and the last question in the box says, what do you notice about all 4 voyages? So really, ¿qué piensa sobre los 4 viajes? ¿Qué piensa, cuál es similar de los 4 viajes? Okay? That's all you need to do for today. Send me a picture when you're done, and then we will check it together tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, guys. I love you very, very much. Bye.